Hey YouTube fam, welcome back to the channel. Back building the flatbed. So if you didn't see the last couple of videos, I'll link them up. We did the whole hitch, got this thing looking killer. So I think today what I'm going to start with is getting these fenders finished up. So I got to weld all these seams and then grind them smooth. I want to get these fenders done, and other than that, all we really have to do is plate the bottom and the sides. And I am waiting for lights. I bought some tail lights, a little license plate light, and so before I paint this thing, I want to get all that done. I don't want to screw up the paint, so hopefully that stuff comes in soon, because I got to cut holes. I bought some actually the flush mount pods, so I'm going to put 2 pods here, and then the tail lights I'm going to put right on the edge here, and then obviously a license plate light's going to go right up here. So we'll get to that when we get the stuff in, but for now let's get these fenders welded in, and then we can start cutting some plate, get some plate on it. And actually I was able to hook up my engine hoist and it lifted it off the truck no problem, so I'm not too worried about weight. I know I got about another 150, maybe a little bit more pounds with this steel. These are like close to 150 pounds a piece, a 4x8 sheet. So this bottom piece is going to be 4x6, and then I just have these sides to do, which aren't going to weigh a whole lot. So it should be around 150 pounds. So realistically, this thing isn't too terrible. 2 guys can lift it. I had my buddy come over and we lifted it off the truck no problem. So realistically, this thing isn't that heavy. So adding that plate, it should, it obviously adds some weight, but it shouldn't be too bad. Another thing with these Toyotas is the back end is so light. I think adding, you know, say 300-400 pounds extra to the rear is actually going to help it. It's going to ride a lot better for the road, and you're going to get a lot better traction because these rear ends are so freaking light. So I think that actually is a good thing, having just a little bit heavier. Obviously you don't want it too heavy, then you got to redo your whole suspension and everything, but I think it'll work out pretty good in the end. So let's get to welding. Let's get these fenders finished up. Alright boys, got this all ground out, welded up, and turned out pretty good. So pretty stoked with how it's looking. Everything's all smoothed out. This whole back section's good. So yeah, I like how they turned out. All these lines look real good, and even these flats. These are a pain in the ass to weld and grind, because where you grind, usually end up with a low spot, but these turned out pretty good. I think it was mainly due to having that big kind of a big bevel or a gap that a lot of the weld sat into. So yeah, turned out pretty good. So next I am going to cut up some of the more plate, get the back, or the bottom on, get these sides. And so basically my plan for these sides, I'm going to come up to this corner here, and then it'll kind of just be a little triangle piece here, and then this main bottom piece will follow this line end up here, and then I'll just have to fill in this little piece, and these will be ground out. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to grind this entire seam all the way down. That's going to take a long time, kind of be a pain in the ass, but I don't know, we'll get played on and we'll figure that out later. Alright guys, got that sheet on and fits really good. So I'm gonna, there's still one weld up here underneath I need to grind down. So I need to figure out how to get there. My grinder doesn't fit in between here, so somehow I got to get in there and grind it. But either way, that fits really good. I'm really stoked. That that saw is working out really good. I mean, look at these cuts. They are extremely straight. And as you saw, I didn't use any guide. I just freehand it, and it cuts really, really nice. So happy about that. So I'm gonna grind those fronts off, those front welds, and then figure out this rear section, or these sides. Alright guys, got this side piece in. Just had to notch it out for that. That fits really good. So for this back section is going to be a little tricky because it slopes down and I want to use all my plate being flat. So I made this little template here. So this triangle is going to be just like that. And then this bottom piece will be flat on the deck and it'll run up here. So this one won't be bad to cut. This one's going to be a little tricky to figure everything out, but the good thing is all these seams are and everything's going to be welded and ground. So if it doesn't fit perfect, not the end of the world. You can just grind it because it's going to be, like I said, going to be flush anyway. So let's get going. Let's cut this out, and then we'll mark this out once we get that piece in and figure this last one out. Alright guys, this thing is looking pretty good, so I'm going to transfer that onto the sheet and cut it out, and just a touch short here, so I just wrote on there add a 1/4 inch, and then we can just grind it to fit. So let's go cut this bad boy out and see if it fits. Alright, let's see the first test fit. I'm pretty positive I'll have to grind some, but we'll see how close it is. So I gotta grind a little bit off this corner and a little bit off the end like I thought I would, because I cut it a little bit long. So that's a very, very good fit. So I'll trim that, we should be good. Alright, there we go guys. Fits pretty good. Good enough to weld and grind anyway, so that side is good. I think what I'll do, I don't want to weld all this in yet because I want to be able to paint everything on top of my hitch. So all this framework and everything, it's going to be nearly impossible to spray all the tops of all this. So what I want to do is get some primer on it before I weld all this in, because I can go through the top here. So I need to go get some primer, prime all this under here, and then I think I'll weld all this on. Alright guys, filler neck. I think I figured out what I'm gonna do. So I got the tube and everything off here. If I put this right up here, just butt it right up, it literally fits perfect right to that frame rail. All I would have to do is just build a little bit of a bracket coming down, and that's up underneath. I mean, yeah, no matter where you put this thing, you're gonna see it. If I put it up here, I was really thinking about doing there, but check it out. That is terrible looking. I know you can get other nozzles or filler necks, but I couldn't really find one that was the right size and the right bend and angle and everything. And that looks freaking terrible. Like, you'd see all the tube or hoses down. It'd be a pain in the butt to find tubes to run all the way back here. So I really think that's my best, easiest, cleanest solution right there. All I have to do is get a coupler, and it's still downhill, so it'll fill no problem. I'll just have to trim that vent tube, and that'll go on easy breezy. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have to go online and buy a coupler, because they are a different size. So I'm hoping that I can find something fairly easily. So we'll see about that, but I can build the little bracket and everything for it. So I think that's what I'm gonna do, and that'll save me a lot of time in building all this plate. For one, you won't see all the tube or all the hoses, and honestly it looks clean, like it's underneath, you can't see it. And I mean, yeah, it's gonna get dirty, I guess. I might be able to make some sort of a shroud around it or something, but either way, if you have it out here, I mean, it's getting dirty too. So either way, it's probably gonna get dirty, but I guess not a huge deal. I'll just I think I'll figure out some sort of a, I mean, I could almost build a little box around it too with a little lid, and that would keep the inside clean and keep all this cap and everything clean, because there is a vent in the cap. So it is, I mean, kind of crucial, I guess, to keep it halfway decently clean. So we'll figure that out later. Anyway, so I'm going to build a mount for it, buy a coupler, and that's where it's going to go. Alright guys, filler neck. I actually used the stock hose, and it's not a perfect fit, but so this is the factory side. I cut this side where because it necks down quite a bit. This is 2 inch, that's 1 5/8 inch, and it actually works pretty good. I'll just put a nice T-bolt clamp on it, and it shouldn't leak. I mean, the fuel's going in through this pipe here, so it's not, there's no chance of it coming back up this way. So I think that should work just fine. So I need to get a hole saw, and I need to cut a hole in there, and that's going to be my mount. It's going to bolt on to the filler neck there, and then I'll weld it onto the frame. And I'm trying to figure out I kind of want to build a little bit of a box around it or something to shield that, but for now I'm gonna go get a hole saw and cut that out, get that tacked in place, and then we can figure out what we're gonna do for to keep this thing clean. Alright guys, made some progress on this thing. So what I did was I welded a plate. See this side. So I welded that plate on at an angle and I threaded the actual frame. I was gonna get some riv nuts, but I couldn't find any local, so if those threads don't hold, I'll just throw some riv nuts in there, but they should hold. And then also I was at the hardware store and I found this coupler here. I'm not exactly sure if it's suitable for fuel, but it's not like this thing is always has fuel in it. It's, you know, just a filler. So it actually is the right size. It fits really good, and yeah, so that's good. So the next thing I gotta figure out is if I'm gonna make a little box around it. I honestly kind of like the look of it like that. I might trim this plate. I'm gonna do a little messing around and figure something out, but for now that's definitely gonna work. I just want to figure out what I'm gonna do with it, so I think I'm gonna stop there for now. I want to get the rest of this plate on. I still got to do this one side here. So I think I'm gonna work on that now. I'm gonna get the bottom plate back on, measure everything out, and get this whole side done. And then, like I said, I still need to go get some primer and kind of just shoot this area before I plate the top, because I'm not gonna be able to get my gun up in here and shoot all this when I have this plate on the top. So that's kind of the game plan. Alright guys, plate is done. Just needs to be welded. So all this stuff turned out pretty good. So yeah, all this is going to flow real nice. All this is going to be welded, ground smooth. And I probably won't grind this along this edge here. That's just, I kind of want that lip there. But I'm still trying to decide if I'm going to grind all this whole seam going back. I don't know, we'll see once we get it welded, but for now that's good. So the next thing I got to do is I got to map out where I'm going to put everything in the back here. So I got the license plate, it's going to go here. I got some flush mount LEDs and then tail lights, and also a license plate light, but those are taking forever to get here. I do have the flush mounts, so I'm going to get my license plate on so I can figure out where I want the rock lights, because they're going to be here, and then I'm going to have the tail lights all the way out on the edge. So I'm going to drill those holes, get those done, and then once I get the tail lights, I'll get those in. And I really want to get those in before I go paint everything and screw up my fancy paint job. So that's kind of the plan. So here's kind of a look. I do plan on doing something to cover up the frame. The one thing I do not like about flatbeds is when people leave that wide open. It already looks a lot better with just having that sheeted on the top, but still that frame where that gap is between the frame, I think I'm not going to use sheet metal. That's just going to make it too heavy. I'm going to use plastic sheets and just kind of like make like a little inner fender, and it'll hide all that gap, and I think it'll look a lot better. Alright, there we go. Got the lights in. They're not bolted in all the way, but looking good. Those should be good for now. I'll wait till I get the tail lights to get those in and the license plate light. So that's about as far as we can go on this rear panel for now. Alright guys, I'm working on this mount here, so I think I'm going to attempt to make just a little bit of a box to go around this. So what I got going is I found this hinge. I have this thing laying around, and check it out. It'll literally bolt right on to the mounts for the this filler neck. So what I'm going to do is bolt that on and then just make like a little bit of a box, and that's going to hinge so it'll flip open. And then I'll have to figure out some sort of a latch. I was thinking a magnet or something to hold it closed anyway, but that's the last thing to figure out. So I'm going to get all this together. Alright guys, check it out. Check it out. Got that on. Opens and closes. I just welded it on that side and then bolted it through those stock mounts. So that should work pretty good. Keep all the mud and crap out of there anyway. So I'm gonna get all that painted up. I'm actually gonna sandblast it and paint it just so give the paint a better chance to stay on it. And then we can throw it on and be done with it. Alright guys, got this thing figured out. So built this little latch plate for it. So I just got a cotter pin to go in like that. Holds it nicely, keeps it out of the way, and keeps that lid on. So all I got to do now is just blast and paint this thing, and we can throw it on and be done with it. Alright guys, I'm going to cut this video right here. Like all these flatbed videos, these things are getting long. There's so much information I'm covering, and they end up long. So if you stuck through the whole thing, good job. So yeah, we got a lot more stuff to do. I'm still waiting for taillights, and I got to go buy primer and prime underneath, like I said, underneath that hitch area before I weld that plate on, and then we can get all that plate welded, ground out. Then we can prime the whole thing and paint it. And I want to figure out mud flaps. I haven't figured that out yet. My exhaust is kind of right where I would put them. So I don't know if I went in front. I don't know. We'll figure that out. Either way, this thing is getting pretty close. So hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. And we'll see you guys in the next one.